Welcome to the Effective E-commerce Podcast. I'm your host, Travis Marziani. So I want to talk a little bit about what this podcast is all about, and then I want to go into my story. So this first episode, we're just going to give a general overview of what this podcast is about and how I got started in e-commerce. So first off, the first thing I want to say is this podcast, the first 36, 37, 38 episodes or so, I want to do a complete e-commerce course. Everything I wish I would have known when I first was starting my e-commerce company, and I learned a lot from listening to podcasts. And I wish someone would have just said, hey, here's step 1, 2, 3. Here's the A through Z. Now, obviously, this isn't going to be as complete as it possibly could. There's things that I don't know about e-commerce still. There's a lot I still don't know about e-commerce. But my goal is to take everything I know about e-commerce and condense it down into this, let's call it an audio course that I'm giving out for free as a podcast. So first off, let's talk a little bit about my story. So my name's Travis Marziani, and I started in e-commerce about 5 years ago. I had a job at a corporate job. I quit that a little over 4.5 years ago. I pretty much quit it cold turkey. I wasn't making any money on e-commerce, and I don't recommend that for everybody. I think if you're young and you don't have a lot of responsibilities, that makes sense, which I was and still am. But for a lot of people that I know, the right route is to instead just do it as a side hustle. So a little over 4 years ago, I quit my job to start my first e-commerce company, bdancewear. It's a dance clothing company. The way I got into it is my mom. I actually co-own it with my mom, and she had a lot of people come up to her and say, she used to do custom dance clothing. So a lot of people would come up to her and say, hey, I want a pair of shorts in light purple. And she'd say, that's not really what I do. I do more custom costumes. So what she would do is the fancy, complete custom costumes, think $200. And they'd say, so she'd tell the people, go online, just go buy a pair of your light purple shirts. I'm sure you'll find it shorts. I'm sure you'll find it somewhere. They'd come back and they'd say, no, I can't find it anywhere. Can you make it for me? And she'd say, sure, it's going to be, $40 or some premium price. So this happened again, and again. So when I was quitting my job, I asked everybody and I told everybody that I wanted to start an online store. I wanted to start something where I could be location independent, where I could work on my own time. I could be my own boss, basically. And when you start telling people that, everybody has an idea for you. It's like if you tell people I want to develop an app, everybody's got an app idea. And I probably had 5 or 6 different people that told me, oh, here's an idea for an online store. Maybe we could work on this together. But of all the ideas, my mom's idea made the most sense. So even though she was doing the custom dance clothing, this was a new company that we were going to start from scratch together. Because the difference between this company and our last company was we're going to do the basic pieces. We were going to do the shorts. And our USP was 200 plus colors, all handmade in the United States. And it was perfectly scalable because if we just sold one item a week, my mom could sew it. She could, cut it, sew it, ship it. But then as we grew, we hired someone to do the cutting. So as we started selling 10 items a day, we hired someone to do cutting. And then we hired someone to do the shipping. And then before you know it, now we have about 10 to 15 employees, depends on what time of the year it is, probably closer to 15, especially right now. 15 employees that do the cutting, sewing, shipping, everything. It's all done by our employees. My mom runs everything. She's more of like a manager position. She rarely does any cutting, sewing, shipping, any of the more boring tasks, we'll call it. So that's how I got started a little over 4 years ago. I also just launched a new company called Performance Nut Butter. It's a macadamia, coconut, cashew blended nut butter. It tastes absolutely amazing. You can go to performancenutbutter.com if you want to try it out. It's so good. But anyways, it comes in individual serving packs, and what makes my company different is not only is it a superior product that has higher quality ingredients, higher quality nuts, it's also the marketing. And this is something you're going to hear me repeat over and over again in this podcast, is it's not just about having a better product. It's about niching down and having a market that you dominate. So my company is called Performance Nut Butter. It's specifically targeted towards athletic type people that run triathlons or CrossFit people, things like that, as opposed to the other nut butters that are out there. And there are other premium nut butters that are out there that are really good, but their marketing and their branding is off. I do think mine is better, but I'm obviously a little partial. I'm not impartial to that. So the other thing I want to talk about with that company is I did it as an experiment. I said, could I launch a Kickstarter in 30 days? And you can go to my YouTube channel. If you go to effectiveecommerce.com/YouTube, it'll forward you there, or just go to YouTube and search for Effective E-commerce. But if you go to my YouTube channel, I documented all 30 days of creating the company, and then I documented all 30 days of the actual Kickstarter. And my goal is, and I've been trying to do it, I've been doing a decent job. My goal is to work on this project at least one day a week, and probably only one day a week, maybe 2 days a week during more crucial times, but more importantly, document the entire process. I'm hoping for this to become $1 million company, and I'm hoping to be able to show people, hey, this is exactly what I did. This is how I did it. If I can do it, you can do it as well. I think when you're starting off with anything new, especially with e-commerce or internet marketing, it's very easy to get discouraged and say, hey, this isn't possible. It is possible. It takes hard work. And that's another thing I think I want to reiterate, and you'll hear me talk about again and again. If you're looking just for some easy cash, which I know a lot of people get seduced into e-commerce because of that. If you're looking for easy cash, this is not the right thing for you. You might get lucky. You might get lucky and find a niche that nobody ever thought about. And I've seen it. I've had friends. I've seen people that aren't necessarily friends, but people that are also in the space. I've seen them get lucky and make a lot of money in e-commerce or internet marketing. That shouldn't be your plan. Your plan should be, it'll work if you keep going at it. I like to talk about the Native American rain dance. So there's an old phrase that I heard is the reason that the rain dance always worked, and if you don't remember, that was the Native American, or supposedly the Native American tribes would dance until it would rain, and it was their dancing was supposed to bring about the rain. But I say the reason it worked is they kept dancing until it rained. And if you dance for long enough, if you work at e-commerce or internet marketing long enough, of course you're going to crack it. And it might not be your first company. It might not be your second company. Another thing people always say is 4 out of 5 businesses fail. Well, first off, that's not actually true. It's 4 out of 5 businesses fail within the first 5 years, or within the first 5 years. You can make a lot of money in 5 years. So that's not bad. So that's the first thing I'd say. The second thing I'd say is 4 out of 5 people aren't listening to this podcast or watching YouTube videos. So you've already got a leg up on them. And I think that's very important. If you're the kind of person that listens to podcasts or watches YouTube videos, you're doing better than most people because you're trying to educate yourself. On the last thing, though, I want to say on that is when people would tell me that, when I was first quitting my job, I would always tell them, okay, I'll start 5 businesses. Statistically, one of them will succeed. If 4 out of 5 businesses fail, and obviously that's a joke, but the truth is, if you start one business that fails, just know that you're going to learn lessons from that, and then the second business will come along, and you'll do better on the second business, and if that still fails, the third business will come along. The other good part about e-commerce is, generally speaking, it's lower overhead, especially in the initial stages, so it's a lot harder for it to quote-unquote fail. So that's a little bit of my rant. I think if you're listening to just the podcast version of this, it's important to note that I do have a YouTube channel, like I said, Effective E-commerce, where a lot of the topics that we're going to be covering in this podcast, I go into depth about. On my YouTube channel, I show tutorials, because a lot of the things, it's hard for me to really explain over a podcast. It's much easier to show on a actual, YouTube video. So with that being said, that's, I think, a decent amount about myself. I can probably talk more, and if this is something that you want to know more about me, definitely let me know. I'll throw out a few other quick tidbits. I'm based currently in Los Angeles, California, so if you're in Los Angeles, please send me an email, travis@effectiveecommerce.com, or even if you're just traveling through, I'm in Santa Monica, so definitely if you're ever in the area, send me an email. But with that being said, I want to let you know about a way that you can get a free one-on-one consulting session with me. I am available for hire, but I charge a high enough price that for most people it's not going to make sense, because I don't really love the idea of trading my time for money. But if you can afford me, I am available. You can email me, travis@effectiveecommerce.com, for details on that. My rates fluctuate based on how busy I am. I will say, though, if you want to get a free one-on-one consulting session, if you don't already have a Shopify store, you can go to effectiveecommerce.com/Shopify. And if you are thinking about signing up for Shopify, which I highly recommend doing, I think it's the best platform out there, use my link and I'll give you a free one-on-one consulting session, plus you get a free 14-day trial. On top of that, and this is the big thing, If you go to iTunes, look for the Effective E-commerce podcast, subscribe, and leave a 5-star review. Every month, I'm going to be picking someone at random to get a free one-on-one consulting session with. So whether you want the consulting session or not, it really helps out if you go to iTunes and leave that 5-star review, because the more 5-star reviews we can get on this podcast, the more energy I can spend on it and the higher quality guests we can have. Basically, the better podcast it's going to be for you. And I know a lot of times people say, go leave that 5-star review, and it's easy to forget. But that's why I'm hoping to incentivize you with the free one-on-one consulting session. But either way, whether you want that or not, go leave that 5-star review on iTunes. Definitely check out my YouTube video. I do have e-commerce courses as well. I currently have 2 courses, a general how to start an e-commerce store course and a Facebook ads course. You can go to effectiveecommerce.com to check those out. I'm going to be coming out with an AdWords and an email marketing course very soon. And some other big news, I'm looking to take a group of people probably in the new year, 2018, January of 2018, take them from A to Z together. We'll probably get a group of 10 of us and try to go from the very beginning of maybe coming up with an idea or people that already have an idea all the way to having a built e-commerce store. It's a 5-week course. If you're interested in that, you can go to effectiveecommerce.com/AZ, just the lowercase letters AZ. And right now it's a waiting list, but pretty soon that's going to be an active page. Like I said, it's going to be a complete course where you have access to me. We meet once a week as a group and go from beginning to end. So that's pretty much everything. Like I said, if you want to sign up for Shopify, effectiveecommerce.com/Shopify, leave a 5-star review on iTunes for a chance to win a free consulting session. Plus, it'd be a huge thank you. I'd really appreciate that. You can check out my courses at effectiveecommerce.com and effectiveecommerce.com/AZ to look at the handheld course where I walk you through on how to start a store. So thank you so much for listening to this first podcast. We have a lot more episodes coming out. The podcast currently is going to be coming out every Monday and Thursday. And there's good reasons why Monday and Thursday. But so right now, every Monday and Thursday is going to be a new lesson on how to start an e-commerce store. I hope you enjoyed this video, this podcast, and thank you so much for listening.